We are looking to move as closely as we can to what we had pre-Avalon, and however, I do want to foreshadow that mask wearing in certain settings might be something we keep indefinitely because what we do want to do is encourage people to be able to move around as much as possible freely, resume their workplaces, travel where they need to go to. And the reason why we may make that approach in terms of the mask wearing is because we're still looking at the impacts of the greatest, the strains of the virus that are emerging. We know that they're more contagious, and we just want to give people that additional line of defence. But that is just one example of something we might keep in place longer. But generally speaking, we are keen to get as close to pre-Avalon conditions as we can, and that will depend on the health advice. But we're also very keen to make sure what we announce is simple and holistic, rather than a decision here or there, because we want to move forward in a confident way to demonstrate our ability to deal with outbreaks when they occur, but also our ability to bounce back and give people confidence, especially as people are thinking about going back to work, going back to school, and we want people to feel they can do that in a very COVID-safe way.
Is there any acknowledgement that you really should have done masks mandatory first time?
No, because what we have now are greater freedoms than what we've had previously during the pandemic, and we have to be very careful to acknowledge that masks are the fourth line of defence. So previously we'd encourage people to work from home, but we're not doing that anymore. We're encouraging people to think about how they can go back to their workplace in a COVID-safe way. So allowing us to maintain some of those settings around mask wearing gives us that additional fourth line of defence, as we call it. Remember to make sure you get tested if you have the mildest of symptoms and stay home until you get health advice to the contrary. Make sure you hand sanitise, make sure you keep that physical distancing. And then the masks in some indoor settings, which are higher risk, have that additional line of defence. And we hope that additional line of defence will encourage people to think about working in their workplace, think about resuming normal activity as much as possible in a COVID-safe way. And we may very well find that at a point in time, if we are confident that we're managing the new strains of the virus and we're managing the pandemic as best as we can, that those type of restrictions will be eased as well.
Are you concerned that by easing restrictions it could make other states a bit more apprehensive to open their borders to New South Wales?
No, I mean they're decisions other states will take according to their own settings. But in New South Wales, we'll always try and strike the right balance of providing the health and safety for our citizens, but also for making sure that we allow the economy to grow stronger, for jobs to grow, and for people to have their livelihoods protected. And that's very important to us to get that balance right. Different states have different approaches, but I want to stress all states have the ambition of zero community transmission, and that's certainly the case in New South Wales. And I'm pleased that in the last week we've seen a number of days where we've managed that, but obviously we want that trend to continue.
Just on asking you, the fact that it was so low when you were still calling for people to wear them on public transport and stuff before you made it mandatory, is that a reason why you're looking to just keep it mandatory?
No, I think what's really important is that you have to look at the whole range of settings you're putting in place. And if you want to send the message to people that it's still safe to move around in certain settings and there's a fourth line of defence with mask wearing, well, that's a good thing. If you want to encourage people to think about where they're going to work from in the new year, if you want to encourage our CBDs, particularly the Sydney CBD and other major centres to thrive, well, certainly you need to consider all those settings. And I'm not suggesting it's a definite that we'll continue that mask wearing in those settings, but it is an option we're considering. And I just wanted to be very upfront with everybody to say most other settings we're confident will get close to pre-Avalon, but mask wearing may be something that we keep going for a little while longer. But of course, we'll keep the community updated about that. I think it's really important to have those conversations openly and publicly so that the community appreciates what our thinking is guided by and what the health advice is telling us as well.